The phone buzzed insistently in her pocket, jolting her out of focus. She wiped the sweat from her brow and stepped outside the makeshift clinic where the midday sun cast long shadows over a quiet village. Her heart sank as she saw the name on the screen. Richard. After years of dealing with his antics, calls from him rarely brought good news, but curiosity got the better of her. "Hello," she said, keeping her voice neutral. His tone was cheerful, far too cheerful for comfort. "Just thought you'd want to know. I've sold the mountain cabin." Her breath hitched. "You did what?" He laughed smugly, oblivious to the storm brewing inside her. For decades, that cabin had been more than just property. It was her sanctuary, her anchor through life's chaos. And now, Richard had crossed a line he couldn't come back from. But what he didn't know, and what she intended to keep hidden, was that the cabin wasn't entirely his to sell. As she hung up, her mind raced. This wasn't just about betrayal, it was about reclaiming control. Little did Richard know, his actions would spark a battle he never saw coming. After her confrontation with Richard, Catherine felt a renewed sense of purpose. She called Laura, who confirmed that their co-ownership agreement rendered Richard's sale invalid. Together, they decided to dig deeper into Richard's actions. Catherine discovered that Richard had been drowning in gambling debts and saw the cabin as an easy way out. The real estate agent admitted she hadn't verified the co-ownership clause before proceeding with the sale. Armed with evidence, Catherine and Laura drafted a cease and desist letter, ready to shut down any further attempts by Richard to involve the buyer. Meanwhile, Detective Miller entered the scene after Laura discreetly contacted him. He assured them that formal charges could be pressed if Richard continued his fraudulent behavior. As Catherine gathered documents and prepared for legal action, she realized this fight was about more than just property. It was about reclaiming her independence. Richard showed up unannounced at Catherine's house, attempting to justify his actions. His condescending tone only fueled her resolve. When he tried to guilt-trip her, claiming he saved the family when her mother remarried, Catherine cut him off coldly. "This conversation is over," she said firmly. "If you have anything else to say, take it up with my lawyer." Shaken but undeterred, Richard stormed out, leaving Catherine feeling empowered. For the first time, she stood up to him without backing down. Later, Detective Miller informed her that the buyer had agreed to halt the transaction upon learning about the co-ownership agreement. With the cabin officially safe, Catherine decided to press charges against Richard for fraudulent misrepresentation. As the investigation progressed, Catherine meticulously collected every piece of evidence: forged paperwork, text messages from Richard discussing the sale, and statements from the real estate agent. Each document strengthened their case. Laura played a crucial role, ensuring all legal processes were followed. Meanwhile, Catherine reflected on how much she'd grown during this ordeal. She no longer avoided conflict or tolerated manipulation. Instead, she embraced her strength and determination. Detective Miller updated them regularly, emphasizing the strength of their case. Richard, now desperate, began avoiding calls and showing signs of panic. Catherine knew justice was within reach, but she also understood the emotional toll this battle took on her family. Her mother's hesitant support marked a turning point. She finally acknowledged Richard's flaws. The court date arrived, and Richard faced charges for fraudulent misrepresentation. The judge ruled in Catherine and Laura's favor, declaring the attempted sale null and void. Richard was ordered to pay restitution and serve community service. Though, relieved, Catherine felt a pang of sadness. Richard had once been part of her family, but his greed and betrayal severed those ties forever. After the trial, she returned to the cabin with Laura, where they celebrated their victory with wine and laughter under the stars. For Catherine, the win wasn't just about saving the cabin, it symbolized her ability to stand firm against injustice. She vowed never to let anyone undermine her values again. With the legal battle behind her, Catherine focused on healing. She and Laura renovated the cabin, painting the porch, fixing the roof, and planting wildflowers around the property. Every nail hammered and brushstroke applied, felt like reclaiming not just the space, but herself. Her mother called occasionally, her tone softer now. For the first time, there was no defense of Richard, just quiet acknowledgement of Catherine's strength. This newfound respect deepened their bond. Catherine spent weekends at the cabin, rediscovering its magic. It wasn't just a building. It represented resilience, independence, and peace. Friends visited, filling the air with laughter and warmth. Life slowly returned to normal, but Catherine carried the lessons she'd learned forward. Months later, Catherine sat on the cabin's porch, watching the sunset. Laura joined her, asking, "What's next for you?" Catherine smiled, knowing exactly what she wanted. "I'm going to keep doing what I love, volunteering, traveling, living life on my terms. But this time, I won't let anyone dictate how I live it." She reflected on everything she'd overcome. Richard's betrayal had tested her, but it also revealed her inner strength. The cabin stood as a testament to her growth, a reminder that she didn't have to sacrifice her peace for anyone else's comfort. As the sun dipped below the mountains, Catherine breathed in the crisp, pine-scented air. For the first time in years, she felt truly at home, not just in the cabin, but in her own life.